The Boy Choir of Lesbos was a group of women who dressed like boys and sang in the range of a boy choir. So we sang 3 or 4 part harmony, so basically alto to soprano. And this was a project started by Tristan. And so let's just talk a little bit about the theatrical elements of that.
All right.
So, you know, you came in with the idea pretty much fully formed. You know, like, I feel like I was there throughout the project, but it was like fully conceived when you came and talked to me about it, like that first moment, every aspect of it. So
I maintained very strict artistic control of that project for lots of different reasons, but partly it was like, I think it was a satire, but in my opinion, and I don't know if you agree, Moyna, but in my opinion, satire works best the more serious you are. Yeah. So for me, it was like, well, we actually have our model is, you know, these Anglican boy choirs. And so if you picture, you know, like the red and white robes, the high collars, the, you know, the little rosy cheeks, the short hair, very clean cut, British, you know, for me, it's a very common image I grew up with. And so we just had that. So to me, I was like, that's what I'm aiming for. And it's true, people would come with their long hair and be like, I can tie it back. And I'd be like, no, sorry. You have to cut your hair if you want to be in the boy choir because that's just the way it is. Mm-hmm. And we would have like these big, large folders, and we actually made them extra big so that we looked smaller because we were all adults at the time. And underneath our choir robes, just for a little extra authenticity, we actually were wearing schoolboy uniforms, and we would always arrive at a venue as a group, as if we'd been bussed there by by the school, because we were actually all too young to be traveling through the city of Toronto at 10 at night, going into some bar to like perform in the cabaret at the bar. And I remember, like, I think we kind of all had like little boy choir names and ages and backstories. And I was Bruce, T. Bruce. You were Wayne.
I was 11. I was one of the older boys.
Yeah, I was 12. I was the head boy.
What's really interesting about that is thinking about gender performativity and our full identities and how they overlap or intercept with theater and performance. I think talking and thinking about the boy choir is a really good exercise in that. And so what you have is this group of women, primarily mostly queer identified, and then we had our costumes, which we called our touring costumes that Tristan just described, and these were Oxfords, black shoes, knee socks, shorts, usually beige shorts, blue jacket, white shirt, collar, and very neatly combed hair. And we never showed up at a gig without these costumes on, but in fact, these were not our costumes. So our costumes, we would put on a costume in order to go on stage. And so what we were really doing was playing with, like, bridging that space between here's life, here's us getting together and doing this project and bringing our lives into it, and then here's us enacting it in these different layers. Yeah. So then when we went onto the stage, we would actually wear the church robes. So we would be wearing, the white collars, the big red robes, and then, as Tristan said, the hymnals, the books that had our sheet music in them, were huge. And so when we held them up, the idea was it was meant to be a theatrical trick of scale. So you have this really, really big book, which is meant to make, your hands look smaller, your body look smaller. Thinking about the boy choir and the performance of the boy choir and the performance of gender and all of these things together kind of reminds us of the way that identity is a cultural process, and gender is also a cultural process. And so looking at the construction of the Boy Choir of Lesbos and looking at the trajectory of the emergence of the boy choir and then through the rest of Tristan's career, which we'll move on to in a second, we get a really interesting glimpse into the way that theatricality, performativity, and performance of self, so repetition, reiteration of ideas and images, all work together, all intersect and overlap. So, for example, the Boy Choir of Lesbos was a group of women who were pretty much all queer identified. we all pretty much had short hair, which was kind of de rigueur for the 1990s, unless you were overtly femme. And so we would arrive at a gig, which was inevitably a cabaret of some kind, either in a bar or a theater. Also musical acts. We opened for musicians. We once opened for the famous Carol Pope. We opened for Quentin Crisp. So we started to develop quite a reputation in town. But we would arrive at a gig fully dressed in what we called our touring costumes, or our touring outfits, I should say. So we had the shoes, the socks, knee socks, little shorts, blue jacket, white shirt, tie, and very neat, tidy hair, sort of flattened down to our heads, like the little boy choir hairdo. And we would arrive as a group, and we would already be in character. But the distance between our daily social characters and these characters was not that great, really. You know, like the way we were as friends, or the way we would talk, and then we would dress up in these costumes. And so we would arrive at our gigs, and everybody like, oh my God, that's so adorable, look at them, they're so adorable, and assume that was our costumes. And then we would go backstage and we'd put on our costumes. So we were always overtly playing with these layers of representation and the layers of expectations of us as a group of queer women performing at all sorts of events at that time. And so, you know, like I was saying, Tristan came with this project and talked to myself and Alex Bulmer and Sarah Stanley, I think were the original core people, with this whole vision completely formed in your head. Like the touring uniforms.
Yep, the outfits, the books, and I think the style of music. And so it was always like, first we'll open with a classic hymn or choral piece of music that was very, kind of done very, we'll say straight, as in straightforward. And then we would segue into usually a pop song of some sort, like Cher's Believe or Sweet Things Are Made of, you know, is that the song?
Sweet Dreams.
Sweet Dreams. It's like, oh, I'm getting a bit old. Sweet Dreams, you know, et cetera, et cetera. I Can't Get No Satisfaction. But we would keep the same, you know, it would be actually as if you saw a boy choir saying, hey, we can do a pop song too. And then, but they're like actually still in 4-part harmony, still completely like in that very formal thing. And we were very serious.